Hello guys and gals, what's Spawn What Ifs here, and well, before we go on to the what if, I would simply like to thank you, all of you guys, for your support and getting me to 600 subscribers. I truly do appreciate it. And now, well, actually not now, so the two main what ifs which I'm going to be doing, at least for now, is going to be what if Deku was experimented on, and what if Bell was a Dragonoid. This what if right here. And also, just like always, if any of you guys have any sort of new, ideas or suggestions for a new what if, feel free to leave them down in the comment section. And now, we are going to start the what if. Now, this is going to be what if Bell was a Dragonoid. This what if starts before Bell was born. Now, as the people which are in the small town, or well, in the small town of Igos, they see something flying above them, and that something being their queen, one of the most powerful dragons in existence, and a dragon which can even go up against gods, the fire dragon Ivaran. And yes, as she is flying above all of her subjects, which she always had to protect, she notices something interesting. A battle going on in her own lands. Now, this is a battle between monsters, that being the mindless ones, against a sorcerer. The sorcerer's name being Forest. His Forest is battling against hundreds of monsters, being able to dispose of them rather quickly. Ivaran simply, well, watches. She wonders how exactly a human can get that powerful, because currently the gods which have descended down to earth didn't start their familiars yet. So yeah. And well, as she keeps watching this, she sees another wave of monsters coming up from behind him, and now he can't take on both of these groups. So Ivaran, being the noble fire dragon she was, simply jumps down to help him out. And with simply using one of her spells, she is able to completely destroy the group which was going to attack the sorcerer from behind. And now, as the sorcerer feels essentially 100 times more magical power from something which was behind him than himself, he turns around to see a rather beautiful woman. And well, before he can even say anything, the woman turns around, looks back at him, and then she uses even more of her spells to destroy the group, which was the group of monsters which was in front of the sorcerer. With the sorcerer immediately, well, thanking her for her help and also asking her for her name. With Ivaran simply replying like this: "My name is Ivaran, the queen of this land, and who may you be, sorcerer?" With the sorcerer being, well, obviously, a bit shocked because one of the greatest and most powerful fire dragons which ever lived had just come down and helped him. With the sorcerer now panicking a tiny bit, he mutters this: "I am the sorcerer of the Magic Academy of Ivanov. My name is Forest, Your Majesty." With the queen finding him a bit amusing at how flustered he was. Because after all, he just met somebody who quite literally created the thing which humans now call fire magic. And well, after that, Ivaran simply asks him what exactly he was doing fighting all these monsters. And that's when Forrest replies like this: "Well, my Academy of Magic has had a couple of our magical artifacts which were created by, well, some of them were created by gods, some of them by, well, just like you, yourself, dragons. And they were stolen by someone. And the main one which was stolen was the totem of Poseidon. The main reason why this is so, well, scary for us, for the entirety, for every single sorcerer, is because whoever wields that can control tidal waves. So they can cause massive tsunamis which can destroy entire port cities and even kingdoms. And now, after Ivaran hears about this, she offers her help to Forrest, with Forrest simply replying, why would excuse me for asking this, Your Majesty, but why would you want to help me? I'm simply a sorcerer. I'm nowhere near prepared to even for you to help me. When the sorcerer started stuttering, Ivaran simply replied, the sheer fact that I'm the queen of this land, and that these powerful artifacts, which are currently in the hands of a rather, well, unknown group, and also the fact that some of these artifacts can destroy my entire kingdom, it is my problem, even more than it is yours. With then Forrest replying with, yes, of course, I always knew that. But then again, I'm not exactly sure where they are. Everything I know is that they're in this kingdom. With Ivaran replying, well, if they are in this kingdom, I'm going to easily find them. And after that, Ivaran transforms into her full dragon form, because this entire time she was in her humanoid form. And she simply tells Forrest to get on, with Forrest immediately saying that he has his own flying magic and that he doesn't need to get on top of the queen. And that's when the queen simply uses her tail to put him on her back, with Forrest simply being both flustered and confused by the sheer fact that the queen has taken a sort of a liking to him. Because, yeah, usually dragons don't like mere humans to ride on their backs, especially ones as powerful as Ivaran. And well, as Ivaran and Forrest simply start flying to the nearby cities and towns, asking the people there, along with the cultists of the fire dragon cult, those being essentially the people who worship Ivaran as a goddess, or as one of the more powerful beings on the entirety of the earth. Yeah, they tell her that the north abandoned castle of Igwal, that is not Igwal, that's its your name, that the northern abandoned castle of Yggdrasil has, well, been acting up lately. They don't know what it is. Everything they know is that a lot of monsters have seemingly started to pop out there, with none of us exactly knowing what they're doing there. Now, with that, Forrest and Ivaran go ahead to Yggdrasil. And now, as they go ahead to Yggdrasil, they stop by. That is, they stop by one of the cities which is nearest to it. And now, the reason why they stopped by was because this city was completely and utterly destroyed. As both of them went there, they saw that the main gods of the cult of the fire dragon were all killed. The guardsmen which were posted on the walls killed. The adventurers which were there, along with several mages, including the sorcerer which was sent before Forrest was sent here to deal with the problem, was found dead as well. With Ivaran simply replying, great, ice magic. We may be dealing with a powerful ice dragon on our hands here, which, well, crap, that makes things a lot more complicated. with Forrest simply asking her, what does she mean by that? With Ivaran replying, well, you know how fire and ice dragons don't usually get along well? Yeah, my clan was known to be the main antagonists of every single war which happened between us. And now there's a pretty good chance that several ice dragons, or maybe even one powerful ice dragon, wants to take their revenge on me. I mean, they won't succeed. I'll quite literally burn them to ashes and then burn their ashes to nothingness. But hey, it will be fun. With Forrest simply replying with, you truly are terrifying sometimes. With Ivaron replying, well, of course, I'm the queen. And after that little exchange, they head on to Yggdrasil. On their way there, they see hordes of monsters, although these monsters, they were organized, with their eyes not being the color red, but rather being completely purple. Now, they had no idea what this exactly meant, but before Forrest could even ask Ivaran what does she think of this, Ice Blast simply goes ahead and almost hits Ivaran, with Ivaran being able to dodge it. Although, sadly, Forrest is, well, thrown off because of the blast which completely surprised Ivaran. And now, as Ivaran goes ahead to see from where that blast came off, she sees several ice dragons. And that's when she realizes something even a bit more horrifying. All 5 of these ice dragons aren't alive. They're undead. Every single one of those monsters down there are undead. And now, what exactly was this? Well, this entire, how do you say it, army and the 5 dragons were killed by a follower of the Necronomicon. And if you guys are wondering, yes, I'm going to be combining both this what if and the what if Bell was a necromancer what if. Although currently the what if Bell from the what if Bell was a necromancer what if has currently been killed off by the gods. So yeah, although his influence still is, well, essentially everywhere. And yeah, as the fire dragon, Queen Ilaran, goes ahead and starts battling with the 5 much weaker ice dragons, but still, a dragon is a dragon. While Forrest is currently fighting up against hordes of monsters all around him. And now, as Forrest starts casting both fire and lightning magic, he's able to destroy quite a few of them. Although, that's when he starts getting, well, overrun. Because more and more of these monsters are getting closer and closer. But before they can get too close to him, the monster which was about to, well, essentially stab him in the back, gets shot by an arrow. And after that, Forrest and Ivaran hear, well, a horn. A war horn, more precisely. As both of them turn around to see at the nearby hill, along with the necromancer who is currently doing all that, they see the wood elves. The same wood elves which Bell, in What If Bell Was a Necromancer What If, who destroyed their previous homes. And now the wood elves, although few in number, have been spread out all across this world, with many of them forming up their own enclaves and their own cities. Although the more, how do I say it, patriotic and revengeful wood elves, some of them who were even, how do you say it, alive back when Bell completely and utterly burned down their city, yeah, they're here, with their number being about 5,000 strong. And they're not the only ones. Several thousand of Ivaran's own troops, along with 100 or so of her own cultist bodyguards, which are, putting it rather simply, extremely powerful cultists, are there as well. And now, although the undead army is comprised of about 70,000 monsters, it's going to be a 70,000 monsters versus the sorcerer, Forest, along with about 9,000 troops, which both the humans and the elves are able to muster up. And now, as they charge into the battle, Forest uses teleportation magic to teleport himself right next to, well, Ivaran, who was currently in her dragon form fighting against the necromancer after the 5 ice dragons were beaten. And now this necromancer actually had the same book, that being the Book of Dark Magic, which Bell had created. That being the first one, not the many copies which were made. And yeah, as he uses it, he's actually able to hurt Ivaran quite a bit. But before he can cast the finishing blow, Forrest goes ahead and uses his fire magic to block the dark magic which the necromancer had shot. And then after that, Ivaran goes into her humanoid form, except that she leaves her wings. She uses her new form to fly extremely fast towards the necromancer, and before the necromancer can even react, Ivaran uses her tail to impale him. And just like that, the necromancer falls onto the ground, bleeding, and well, after some time, finally dies. The Book of Dark Magic, that being the third one which Bell had ever created, and I mean Necromancer Bell, not this Bell, which he had created, is confiscated by Forrest, as he sends it to the Academy of Magic, which is currently studying both dark magic and necromancy, although not for evil purposes. They're trying to figure out if they can actually use it to make extremely powerful healing magic. And yeah, after that, all of the monsters which were undead simply fall to the ground, with now not being able to move because, just like I said, they were dead. And now, as Ivaran is there on the floor, with quite a few of her own injuries, Forrest goes ahead and actually takes the artifact which was created by the Golden Dragon King. And well, he uses it on Ivaran. And now, what this artifact did, it was essentially an amulet which could heal any wound. And yeah, Ivaran essentially gets healed up back to her full health. And yeah, with all that being over, Ivaran and Forrest, after several more years of being great friends, decide to get married. And then, after being married for 7 months, Belle is born, the first ever Dragonoid, that being half human, half dragon. And that is where our story truly begins. As Belle is born, his mother and his father, Forrest and Ivaran, are extremely happy. They finally have a son. And well, after that, after Belle was born, the next day, every single bell, just like Belle's name, oh, sorry there guys, like Belle's name, was rung exactly at 12 o'clock. That being because Belle was born exactly at 12 o'clock. And yeah, a bit of a funny what-if history. And exactly the next day as well, there was a gigantic celebration made, because the next heir to the throne of Ivaran was, well, born. Although, sadly for them, this would not last too long. Because when Bell was 3 years old, news of war had reached both his mother and his father. The gods, finally fed up with the dragons, sent several, and I do mean several of their most powerful familia to go ahead and start hunting down both the dragons, and they sent their human soldiers to destroy the kingdoms of the dragons. And exactly at this point, Freya and Loki's familias were currently attacking Iviran's country, or kingdom, shall I say. And because of that, she needs to leave to, well, fight against them. And well, if you guys are wondering, there was essentially 12 major or powerful dragons, while there were hundreds of gods. So yeah, the battle wasn't exactly fair. And exactly as that was going on, Forrest, Belle's father, simply takes Belle, that is, he gives Belle to one of his close comrades, that being the Archmage, or the Arch-Sorcerer of the magical academies, well, the magical academy. Sorry about that. And well, the Belle actually is sort of afraid. He's 3 years old, and he was given to the care of, as he called him, Grandpa Zyphel, because Zyphel was the name of the grand sorcerer of the magical academy. And well, he simply asked him, because he could speak now, because he has heightened intelligence and growth, because he's a Dragonoid. He asks him, his grandpa, essentially this: "Well, where are mommy and daddy going?" With his grandfather simply replying, "Do not worry, young one. Do not worry, Belle. They are going to be fine." With Belle replying, "But if they're going to be fine, why are you taking me away from the capital?" And that's when his grandfather simply remained silent, with Belle further pressuring him to tell him why. And well, that's when his grandfather uses a type of sleep magic on him, with Belle falling asleep. Now, the royal guards, which were with Belle, immediately drew their swords, and that's when the grandfather of Belle simply told them it was the wish of his mother and father. They will not survive this war. They're outnumbered 100-1 by the gods. With the royal guards now, well, hearing about that, and also seeing the letter which was given to him by the Queen and King herself, they back off, with the head of the Royal Knights, whose name is simply going to be Michael. Michael was entrusted to be somebody who Belle could rely on, and also somebody who would teach Belle how exactly to use weapons and all that. And well, as Belle is currently taken back to a faraway island, which is where the Magical Academy is located, along with their own private, well, country, which isn't exactly a kingdom. It's more like a council state. That means there's like 21 councils, with each of the 21 councils representing a different type of magic. And then all 21 of those councils had one archmage. And then all those archmages reported back to the arch-sorcerer, which was Belle's grandfather. And well, as they finally arrive there, Belle wakes up. And that's when he sees something on his bed. He sees a letter, and well, he opens it up. It's a letter from his father and mother, simply apologizing to him for not being truthful with him and not telling him the reason why he was leaving for good. With Bill at first thinking that his mother and father got rid of him, because they didn't exactly say that they were going to die in the letter, but that's when Bill goes ahead to his grandfather, and keep in mind that this was like a week after Bill left his own kingdom. And now, as he goes to where his grandfather is, sitting on his, essentially, his chair in the council, where the other 21 archmages are, he simply is standing right at the door when he hears it. One of the representatives of the god Freya simply came there and told to the arch sorcerer that Ivaran and Forrest have been killed in battle, with Bel being completely and utterly destroyed by this. That both his mother and father died. And that's when essentially the guy who came here from Freya's side, being like a representative, told the arch sorcerer to tell him where they took the prince, Bel, with the arch sorcerer simply replying like this: I do not know where he is. His mother and father cut ties with me a long time ago. And if you don't believe me, you may check this entire academy, but you will never find him here, because he isn't here in the first place. Although, let me warn you, this old academy has a lot of places which not even I dare to set foot. That's when the representative of Freya simply tells him, all right then, tell us if you, well, find him. And well, just as Bill was at the door, he starts to back away. That's when he bumps into someone. Now at first he is afraid, but that's when he sees Michael, the head of the royal guards, and he simply starts comforting Bill because he knows that he just overheard everything that the representative of Freya said. And in all honesty, Michael wanted to go into that room and cut off the heads of every single one of the representatives, which he could very well do, because he was the most powerful human except Fellows, that being Forrest, in the entire kingdom. But sadly, he couldn't, because he needed to train Bell. And well, as Bell's grandfather simply opens up the door, and he actually sees both Michael and Bell there, with Bell crying. Bell's grandfather immediately realizes what had just happened and starts to comfort Bell, simply telling to Bell that it isn't your fault, Bell. Please do not cry. Your mother and father would want you to be strong. And that's when Bell simply stops crying. And well, that's when he asks his grandfather why exactly did the gods want to kill his mother and father, with his grandfather simply replying, for as much as the gods try to act like they're above humanity in every single way, that they're perfect beings, the one single thing which almost all of them possess is greed for power. That is the main reason why they wanted to kill your mother and take over her kingdom. From everything that I just heard, they were able to imprison the Golden Dragon King, although they were not able to find his daughter. So that's at least a plus. Although every single other Dragon King and Queen were killed. The only two dragons which are currently left on this entire world which are alive would be or at least pure-blooded dragons, would be the Golden Dragon King and a dragon which was, well, banished a long time ago. The Black Dragon King. Or rather, probably one of the most powerful, that is, the most powerful dragon which ever lived. Although sadly he was banished a long time ago by the other 13 dragon kings and queens. And just like that, Bell, for the next 5 years until he's 8 years old, simply studies every single day. He studies on the texts which his grandfather had there. And also he uses the magical orb which his mother had left him to simply go through all of the recordings of what she herself found. And the fact that his mother was the one who actually essentially found out how to use fire magic, yeah, there was quite a few there. And so, Bell's affinity is going to be for, well, for fire magic, and the affinity for fire magic is going to be so great that even his mother, that being that even his mother's fire magic pales in comparison to his own. Although that's going to need a bit of more, how do you say it, time. And well, as Bell begins to grow, that being all the way to 8 years old, he also notices something else. He is now growing both horns and a tail. With his grandfather simply, as soon as Bell entered his grandfather's essentially workplace or his study room to go ahead and show his grandfather what he has on him, that being a tail and 2 horns, his grandfather, as he is drinking tea, simply drops his cup while being in the exact same position. And then, after about half a minute, Michael also enters to essentially like this. Excuse me, Grand Sorcerer, where exactly is what the hell? Yeah, because Dragonoids, they were usually humans which had, well, the powers of a dragon. And well, they didn't have any sort of aspects which the dragons had, that being like horns, wings, scales, a tail. And yeah, Bell had both horns and a tail. So yeah, that was rather, well, rather bad for his grandfather to see, because out of the 21 archmages which are in the Magical Academy, 6 of them were actually fond of the gods, and if any one of them saw Bell, they would immediately report him to the gods. And well, after that, his grandfather, fearing for what would happen, simply created a purge, shall we say, in a political purge. The 6 grand mages, which were, well, fond of the gods, found themselves being double-teamed by the 2 grand mages. So it was essentially a 1v2. And because 2 grand mages were more powerful than 1 grand mage, all of the 6 grand mages which were fond of the gods were killed. And that's when they needed 6 new spots for new, well, grand mages. And those spots were filled up rather quickly by more younger mages and wizards, which were all from the fallen kingdom of, well, Everon. And yeah, all of them were pretty pissed off at both Freya and Loki, because Everon's own kingdom, Everon, which, yes, she named the kingdom by her own name, except a bit different, because I mean, of course, she's a dragon. She can be egotistical a tiny bit, and yeah, because the entirety of Everon was completely destroyed. Every single city sacked and burned. It's almost all of its people which weren't able to escape are either killed or sold into slavery. And yeah, that's what Freya and Loki did. And that's why most of the houses of magic, and well, now all of them, completely hated the gods. And keep in mind that most of the mages and let's see, a regular mage which went into the magical academy was at a level 3 adventurer. The grand mages were essentially the levels of a level 5 adventurer. And then the grand sorcerer was at rank level 7 of an adventurer. So rather powerful. And while the former royal guard, that is the leader of the royal guards, was a level 5 adventurer, although him being a master of the sword. And well, as Belle turned 8 years old, he was taking private lessons. Those lessons being from Michael on swordsmanship, and